Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. We have very special guest, Tim Canova, who's running for Congress in the 23rd District of Florida, and his opponent is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And, there was a lot of ballot tampering that went on. Tim is here to talk about exactly what happened. It certainly should make everybody concerned. Hi, Tim. How are you?
Hi there, Jimmy. Doing well. Thank you.
So tell people briefly what happened in your case. You had an election. You didn't win, but there was some ballot tampering.
Yeah, we had our doubts about the final election tally, and a lot of election experts contacted me in the days after our primary, and they had serious concerns about the official results. So what we decided to do was put in a public records request. And the long and short of it is we put in 3 public records requests. The Broward County Supervisor of Elections jerked us around for half a year, and I finally filed a lawsuit in June of 2017. While the lawsuit was pending, 3 months into the lawsuit, and right after we served the supervisor with discovery requests, the supervisor destroyed all the paper ballots. And that's a violation of federal law and state law, punishable by up to 5 years in prison for the state law violation. They have to maintain these ballots for 22 months. But that wasn't the end of it. She destroyed evidence in an ongoing lawsuit. She lied about it to the court and to us for more than 2 months. And she's still litigating it. It's abusive. She's using taxpayer money to try to drain my campaign. We had a judge in the Florida Circuit Court rule for us 2 months ago, granted a summary judgment, and ruled that the supervisor violated all of these federal and state statutes, criminal statutes. And I thought at that point we'd get law enforcement involved. We were hoping that Governor Rick Scott, a Republican, we were hoping the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Attorney General of Florida, and we were also hoping that the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida would all start state and federal investigations. And instead, it's been nothing but silence from all of these folks. So it's been very disconcerting.
So you got the most favorable judgment you could get in your lawsuit from the judge.
Yes.
And you thought for sure something was going to happen. They destroyed the ballots. It looks like ballot tampering for sure. Why would they destroy them if everything was on the up and up?
Exactly. And Jimmy, let me just say, just 2 days ago, The Hill published an article saying that ES&S, Election System Security and Systems, which is what's used here in Broward County, that they sold to all kinds of election systems around the country, systems that were hackable. And this is what some election experts believe. They believe that the vote could have been flipped on us. Our final field numbers from August of 2016, and I should say those field numbers, I think we had the largest field operation of any congressional campaign in the country in 2016. We had 4 field offices, and we were knocking on 10 to 12,000 doors a week, and our final field numbers showed us winning the race.
So, yeah, it sounds very suspicious. And now what's happening is that because there was a Republican governor, Rick Scott, in Florida, you figured that he would do his duty and replace that commissioner. But what your theory is, well, the facts is he's not. So that's the fact. But now the opinion is that you think that the Republicans, the corporate Republicans, which is there any other kind, and the corporate Democrats, so almost the same thing, they're now colluding together to screw the progressive. Do you think that's what's happening?
Well, I was told this by a pretty well-connected Republican lawyer, and he was looking into this for me. We were kind of mystified why the Republicans wouldn't be chomping at the bit to blow this scandal up in Wasserman Schultz's face and to try to clean out this rampant corruption in Broward County's supervisor's office, a Democratic bastion. And there's been no response at all. So we were curious. Even the Broward Republicans haven't said anything. And this well-connected Republican lawyer got back to me, and he said he did some digging, and he's being told that these Republicans, their friends, are the same friends that Wasserman Schultz has. And I said, well, what do you mean by friends? I said, are you talking about the big corporate interests, the fossil fuel companies, the big sugar companies, the Wall Street banks, all the ones that have held sway on Florida politics for decades? And he said, no, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the corporate lobbyists. They got the same corporate lobbyists. And I said to this Republican, well, who are the lobbyists representing? Of course, all those corporate interests that I just rattled off. So, money is thicker than partisan politics. They might be blue and red on the outside, but on the inside, they're all green, the color of money.
So, just let me you are stating what we've stated here many times, is that they all work for the same people. That's the problem with the corporate Democrats, is that they all have the same donors and they represent their donors and not their voters, and that they would also rather lose to a Republican than win with a progressive. And both these scenarios are being played out right here in front of us inside your race now. Yes. Why do you think you haven't gotten more support on this from the on a national scale? Is it because you left the Democratic Party to run as an independent? Now, people don't realize you did that because you were certain they were going to cheat you again, right?
Well, yes, and I contacted all the Democratic Party officials in the state of Florida several months ago, to inform them of what our lawsuit had discovered as far as the destruction of these ballots. And maybe somewhat naively, I thought that some of these Democratic Party officials would step forward and call for an investigation. And it's really it says a lot about our political system when not a single one of these officials stepped up. In fact, not a single one of them responded to me. It's very much an authoritarian mindset that folks follow the leader. The leader in Florida politics is still Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and nobody wants to cross her.
Yeah, it's awfully disappointing, and it's super discouraging. And to me, it's very much like everybody was screaming about the Russians, including Bernie Sanders, but nobody's screaming about the 2016 primaries where you were cheated. They destroyed the ballots. Where Bernie Sanders it was a complete scam of an election, the Democratic primary in 2016, and everyone's pretending that the reason we have Trump is because of the Russians did some Facebook memes. Yeah. But what really happened was the Democratic Party completely screwed the guy who could have beat Donald Trump in favor of maybe the only person in the country or the world who could lose to Donald Trump. It's just amazing how no one's still never talking about that, and even Bernie won't bring it up. But here we have a clear case of them colluding again to screw over progressive. And now I want to introduce to you Melissa Schwartz. Melissa Schwartz is a software engineer. She has a commitment to open source the community and free software movement. She's active in with Democracy Counts, which is an organization committed to free and fair elections that have developed an election audit system that exposes ballot box stuffing, vote stealing, vote switching, and other electoral fraud. Melissa, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's really nice to be here.
And the name of the organization you're working with is called Democracy Counts. And now, what could you do to help Tim Canova out? What could your organization do to help Tim out?
Okay, Jimmy. Well, we've got a mobile software that is going to help citizens organize exit audits. And exit audits are kind of like exit polls, except like with polls, you are only getting a couple voters that are coming out at a time or whatever. But with an audit, you're trying to get everybody coming out of a polling station. So it's basically a parallel election. Because right now we do have some counties that are doing audits and whatever, but none of them are independent of the official ballot data. So what we're trying to do is have a system that's completely outside of the official ballot data. We have everybody that's coming out signs an affidavit, a digital affidavit. So if we get results that are very, very different from the official polling station, this is evidence that can be used in court.
And when you say it can be used in court, what legal basis do you have to say that?
We don't. This is a new thing. This is a new, yeah.
So you'd be setting precedent.
We'd be setting precedent. But the founder of Democracy Counts is a lawyer, and he specializes in election integrity, and we've developed protocols that, keep the data from the beginning to the end in as best we can,
And so now so now Tim's going to be running as an independent against Debbie Wasserman Schultz this fall. And so how could your organization and how could this, is it essentially an app or what is it?
Yeah, it's an app. We would need a lot of money quickly though, because we have a lot of stuff to get done. And then since we have such a short time to get volunteers at polling stations, we're going to have to pay people. So
have you done an Indiegogo or anything?
Yeah, I'm I've got a GoFundMe up. It's a little humbling. We've got a couple $100 in there, and we're asking for $250,000.
And what will happen once you reach your goal?
We're going to finish the software. We're going to finish all our internal security audits. We're going to organize, and the software does have functionality to allow people to sign up by themselves and get, organized with teams. But for his election, if we can get this done in time, we're going to staff all of them manually. So,
and you don't know of a billionaire or a 100 millionaire who's interested in election integrity?
I don't
who
personally.
Could just fund you right away like that?
I don't personally.
Because that would help.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, if entities...
What's that, Tim?
Said hopefully one is watching right now.
Yes, that's why I brought this up.
If powerful private interests wanted to fund something like this, it would already be in place. And it's just unfathomable to me that it's 2018 and we don't have any
There's no election
checks.
integrity in the United States.
No.
And that's how maybe I'm a cynic. I'm past being skeptical because of all the election fraud I've seen and the lack of people calling it out and everyone pretending again that Russia is the cause of the problems in America. And Russia didn't make 50% of Americans poor or low income. 63% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency. 30 million Americans still don't have health care. We don't have clean water in Flint. We have the biggest income inequality since the Middle Ages. The banks are still bigger than ever. None of this. We're in 7-8 wars. None of this has to do with Russia. This has to do with us and the corruption of our own system. The real enemies of American democracy isn't a foreign country. The real enemies of American democracy is big money right here in the United States.
And this is an idea whose time has not only come, but it's way far past due.
Way past due. I agree.
And we shouldn't just have one check on elections. We should have multiple that are outside of the official system.
And so you would think a news organization would have already funded something like this, right?
I mean,
I'm joking, because they're not really interested. In fact,
I mean, they have their exit polls.
Yes,
but they what's the word? They integrate it with the official ballot
and
totals.
if their exit polls are off, they just fix them to whatever the actual outcome was. I saw that happen. Did I not see that happen in the last primary?
Yeah.
So wherever the vote totals were off, they just fixed them to meet.
Yeah. So it's not a check on elections.
Right. So yes. I don't know if you noticed, but CNN just teamed up with factcheck.org in the last election so they could fact check politicians. Apparently, they didn't know how to do that at CNN, and they had to go to an outside organization to fact check politicians. Hey, is there an app? How do we do this again? Fact check? Is there some kind of a thing?
Yeah,
so that's how bad the news is in the United States, which is why we're on this show, which is why I have a show. Right? That even I could do this drunk better than they do.
Yeah.
And I am. All right. So, Tim, what do you have to say to Melissa, and what do you have to say to people watching?
Well, I wholeheartedly support what Melissa's doing. I became aware of Democracy Counts in the months after my election, in the weeks afterwards, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. I hope that people all across this country will step up and support Melissa Schwartz's efforts at Democracy Counts and contribute some money. If we can crowdsource this, we can afford to do a citizen's audit, and I think it would be kind of a game changer for a couple of reasons. If the folks, if the election officials know that we are going ahead with a citizen's audit, it will deter some tampering. I think it will deter vote flipping if they know that we're going to have a real robust audit. And if they go ahead and try to tamper with the results, we're hoping that Democracy Counts, that this audit will give us the tools to challenge it in court.
Okay, I sure do too. It's good to get someone who has a little bit higher profile like yourself, Tim, to get behind something like this. It would be nice if somebody like, I don't know, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, somebody like that got behind it. It would be fantastic.
Well, Jimmy, we were talking about how the Republicans have fallen silent and decided not to, let's say, go in for the kill against Wasserman Schultz, to not investigate anything. And that's been distressing, but it's been very disappointing that Democrats and progressives, not just Democrats, but even progressives, those who should really have an interest in removing a corporate-funded machine, politician, expert rigger like Wasserman Schultz from office, have just fallen completely silent. And I don't know what problems they might have with me. I don't pretend to be the perfect candidate, but I don't take any corporate money. My heart's in the right place. And these folks, these progressives, should really be coming to our aid at this point.
Tim, have you talked with, why am I blanking on his name, the progressive congressman from Florida?
Alan Grayson?
Yes, Alan. Have you talked with Alan Grayson?
I have not spoken to him personally for a while. Alan Grayson has, back in 2016 and this year, been very silent on my campaign. And that's Florida politics for you, where even somebody as progressive as Alan Grayson, I think, is afraid to publicly cross Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
That is just, if that is true, that is just mind-blowing.
Well, and I like Alan Grayson. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to criticize him. I supported him last campaign.
Me too.
I worked with it.
I did fundraisers for him.
Yeah, I go back all the way to 2010. Worked with his staff on some of the provisions of the Dodd-Frank Act when I was, just a law professor. So I like Alan Grayson. I'm not trying to single him out. I will say, though, that we can't get a Democrat or a Republican official, party leader, official, or elected official to stand up and speak out against Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Well, good luck to you, Tim. We'll be watching. Good luck to you, Melissa. We'll put a link to Democracy Counts, and hopefully we'll be able to actually get some and have electoral integrity in the United States. You want to say something?
Yeah, on my GoFundMe, I was asking people just to donate $1, and then I realized that on GoFundMe, the lowest you can donate is $5. So, but I just want small donations from a lot of people, because that's how this is going to happen. It's going to have to take everybody pitching in just a little bit.
So if someone wants to give you $1,000, you'd say no?
No, we wouldn't say no to $1,000.
Okay. I just want to
That would be
double check
great.
on that.
But Tim's audit is the audit. I mean, this is the election.
If Tim, first of all, I think Tim is certainly capable and popular enough in that district to knock off Debbie Wasserman Schultz, which would be even a bigger avalanche or tidal wave than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I think, for sure. Mm-hmm. Just because she was the head of the DNC, she rigged it against Bernie, and I would say she's even more corrupt than Joe Crowley. So,
Jimmy, can I jump in and just say that we've got so much support in this district. We've got a huge volunteer list and folks who are coming to knock on doors with us all the time. But we're short on money. Wasserman Schultz is out raising us 10-1 this time. So we need help for our campaign. We need folks to go to timcanova.com. And I'll be coming out to California soon, I think, to raise some money. And I'll be up in New York. We actually have an event in Brooklyn on Friday, the 27th of July at the Cherry Tree, Friday evening, for any of you New Yorkers out there.
When you come to Los Angeles?
I'm hoping to be there in August. We haven't set a date yet.
Okay. All right, Tim Canova running in the 23rd District of Florida against corrupt incumbent Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders. And we're looking for election integrity. And if there is election integrity, I'm pretty sure Tim Canova will be the congressperson from that district. And Melissa Schwartz, thank you very much from Democracy Counts. And please let us keep in touch with us. Let us know about the progress.
I will. Thanks,
Okay.
Jimmy.
Please make sure you're subscribed. Even if you think you are, you probably aren't. It only takes a second. Check to make sure you're subscribed, and then click that bell. If you click the bell, they'll send you a notification when we drop videos. Otherwise, they won't notify you. And they still might not, but that's all we can do to fight against the bastards. And please become a patron. You support the show. We give you hours of bonus content every week. Plus, we do a live stream most Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks for your support.